How's it going, Reef Keepers? Hope you guys are doing well. No video about the display itself today. Instead, I want to talk about something that I've talked about before, like a long time ago, and my thoughts on it have been, sort of reaffirmed over time. I want to talk about cord management, which I understand is not, the most exciting subject matter, but I think it's really important subject matter, and new reef keepers often don't really know what to do with cord management. I think I found the system at least that works for me. Everybody's different, but I'm going to kind of talk about the system that works for me. Turn my skimmer off for this so that you guys were not, subjected to the noise of that. But so I've had many different comments on my cord management, and that kind of shows how different everybody is. I've had people say stuff like that cord management is neater and more tidy than I can ever imagine mine being. I've also had people say, wow, what a nest of cords. And that kind of is, everybody falls on the spectrum somewhere. Where I fall on the spectrum of cord management is I like to have some like loose cord management. So I've got like this main bundle of cords that runs through there and then into my water slash dosing cabinet over here. Critical, power supplies, stuff like that. And I like to keep those all bundled together. I know every single one of those cords goes over into my water cabinet and connects to something over there. And they also, since they just run laterally, I think it looks nice to have those, not like hanging down, being a potential thing that I could get my hand caught on if I'm working in the sump, that sort of thing. I also try to make all of my Neptune modules nice and neat so that so I understand what everything is and it's obvious where everything is plugged in and what is plugged into what, instead of having random cords everywhere. Like every single module pair like has its own little tiny short cord that connects. So there are certain things I do that are pretty darn organized. And then you have stuff like this, and it's kind of hard to view some of it, but you see how these cords right here are just hanging loose right down in there? Well, those cords actually go to my probes right here that are magnetically connected to the side of the sump. And as you guys will know, if you've been in reef keeping for a while, you're often pulling your probes out, whether to clean them or to recalibrate your pH or do any number of things. So when it comes to things that I may need to access, I like to keep the cords sort of free. And I kind of like push them together into one area, but I don't want to put a whole bunch of like zip ties or Velcro ties or anything like that around them. I want them to fall free so that it's so that it's not a struggle for me to want to work in my tank and do the things I need to do. If I make it hard, I'm less likely to do it, right? And you can kind of see this over here where there's more loose cordage. And those loose cords are cords that like go down to the return pump, the backup return pump, heaters. All this stuff could break, could need replacing, could need periodic cleaning. I don't want any of that to be so hard to access that I'm like clipping 50 zip ties. No way. I just wouldn't do the work. I'm also going to show you guys. One thing to mention. I do like to keep my control boxes pretty neat and tidy. I like to keep those laid out in a logical way so that I can view those things easily, so that I understand where cords end and they die into those boxes, that sort of thing. I am a believer in keeping your box situation, insofar as reef keeping gear is concerned, pretty much neat and tidy. So I buy brackets for my stuff, that sort of thing. I'm going to show you my electrical cabinet. So again, there's this illusion that this is like neat and tidy. I've forever intended to put a tablet there and I've never done it. But anyway, there's this illusion that this is all neat and tidy. Behind here, and it's kind of hard to get in there, down behind here, all the cords that come through the grommet and then snake over to here to plug into my EB832s or plug into my EB8 or plug into my auxiliary power bar that I have hanging right there. All the cords that come in, I just leave them loosely draped down in here in loops that go from here, the grommet, in a loop, and then either to here, or they just kind of dangle loosely down and plug into my EB832s. I do this because if I need to dislodge this panel, which again, like this looks pretty neat. If I need to dislodge this panel and open it up, I can't have everything coiled up. I can't have everything zip tied. I can't have everything, like attached to the wall. That would, again, I just wouldn't do it. I would just like put off replacing gear, put off doing electrical work. Like I just wouldn't do it. However, I do make sure to properly mount anything that gets hot that is like an electrical box or plug or what have you. I'm going to mount it to keep it slightly separated. Like you can see the slight bit of space between those, for instance, so I don't overheat. And I also, because there is heat that is generated from all those boxes, I've got a little fan here that pumps heat out this grommet hole. I've got fans in the back that blow heat forward. So I would pay attention to heat. I would pay attention to mounting things that are going to get warm. But when it comes to the actual cords themselves, my personal advice is just kind of let them be loose and sort of then block the rat's nest. If you hang them loose and just kind of let them fall where they will, hopefully it doesn't become too much of a rat's nest per se. You don't want it to be so bad that things get tangled. But I think that overdoing it with 1,000 zip ties, for instance, is going to make it so that you're just less likely to want to deal with electrical issues. It causes a whole raft of problems to overdo it. It causes danger to underdo it. Somewhere in the middle, I think, is going to be best for most people. But again, despite that thought process dominating my approach to cord management, I still get people who are like, look at this, man, look at that rat's nest. And I still get people who are like, oh my God, I'll never be this organized. And I feel like this is not crazy organization, nor do I think it's extremely sloppy. I really think it falls somewhere in the middle, and I'd encourage people to, if they don't feel strongly about it, but they want to, find an easier way than one extreme or the other, try to set yourself up to be somewhere in the middle. Yeah. Especially new reef keepers. I think long-term thinking at least about a little bit of organization without overdoing it is going to help you out. All right. Have a good one, guys.